Hello, friends. You are with VR Infinity. Sorry for making you wait, but I'm finally here to take you for our last ride of the Indian Rebellion. Today, we shall look at all the causes of the failure of the rebellion and its aftermath. Suppression of the rebellion. The revolt of 1857 lasted for almost more than a year. Beginning from May 10th, 1857, it spread to almost all over India, created huge upheaval within the Indian society, and died towards the middle of 1858. On July 8, 1858, after a prolonged period of 14 months from the onset of the rebellion, peace was finally brought upon over the Indian subcontinent by the then Governor General of India, Lord Canning. Causes of the failure of the rebellion. The main reasons that led to the suppression of the rebellion are as follows. Limited uprising. Even though the rebellion was fairly widespread, especially in northern India, it failed to spread itself to every corner of the country. The southern provinces were not active supporters of the rebellion. Consequently, the rebellion failed to gain the status of pan India struggle, making it quite weak on the face of pan India company rule. Also, many important kingdoms of the subcontinent, like the Sindhya dynasty and the Jodhpur state, were not in support of the rebels. Lack of effective leadership. The absence of a central leadership which could have guided the rebellion uniformly throughout the territory was a major reason for the downfall of the rebellion. Apart from the absence of central leadership, even the individual sieges of different garrisons lacked good commanding leaders with very few exceptions. Nana Sahib, Tatya Tope, and Rani Lakshmibai were undoubtedly effective rulers, but they lacked the vision to provide effective leadership to the movement as a whole. Limited resources. The rebels, being rebels, were denied of their supply of arms and men. Consequently, it became difficult for them to maintain the resources as they became largely dependent on the local rulers and kings. On the other hand, the company forces were hugely strong as compared to the rebels because of the steady supply of arms and men which they received from England, as well as from Indian locals who were in favor of them. No participation of the masses. A large section of the society did not participate in the rebellion at all. For example, the English educated upper and middle class rich merchants and traders, local rulers, zamindars, and also a large section of the Bengal army stayed loyal to the British and acted on behalf of them. Also, outside the cavalry, commoners who were largely indifferent to the causes of the movement. Aftermath. The widespread outcry of the Indian rebellion was heard across every corner of the Indian society, as well as in England. The large number of casualties faced by both the parties was a major topic of concern all over England. Consequently, after the suppression of the rebellion, the immediate concern for England was to make sure that such an outbreak never takes place in the upcoming years. Political reorganization. The biggest outcome of the rebellion was the end of EEIC's rule over the Indian subcontinent by the enactment of the Government of India Act 1858. In August 1858, the company was formally dissolved and its ruling authority over the Indian subcontinent was formally transferred to the British Crown. Consequently, in 1877, Queen Victoria adopted the title of Empress of India. The first imperial darbar was held on Jan 1, 1877, honoring Queen Victoria as the Empress of India. The position of the Governor General of India was replaced by a new title, the Viceroy of India, who was given the responsibility of governing the Indian colony. The British Crown also realized that a communication gap between the rulers and the ruled was another major cause of the emergence of the rebellion. Consequently, several changes were made at the administrative level with the incorporation of Indians into the government at the local level. This resulted in the creation of a class of white collar Indian elite who increasingly became part of the administration system. The Indian Universities Act, which established three universities at Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras, further facilitated the Indians to feel at more ease with the administrative work by educating themselves. Queen Victoria's proclamation of November 1858, a byproduct of the Government of India Act, formed the underlying repertoire of the ideology of the Indian inclusiveness was based. Military reorganization. The army contingent which dominated the Indian army prior to the revolt of 1857 That is, the Bengal army was the main unit which was responsible for the outbreak of the rebellion. As a consequence, after the rebellion's suppression, British wrath was bestowed upon this unit. A direct outcome of such wrath was the scaling back of the Bengal army's size within the larger army. Both native and European armies of British India experienced radical changes after the successful suppression of the Indian rebellion. The erstwhile existing Bengal army was almost entirely vanished after the battle, which was replaced by new recruits from the previously underutilized communities such as the Sikhs and the Gurkhas. Also, the British increased the ratio of British soldiers to the Indian soldiers within the Indian army. Indian artillery came to be replaced by the British units from 1861, pointing to the fact that the post rebellion changes formed the basis for British India's military reorganization until the early 20th century. Growth of Indian nationalism. Last but not the least, the most important effect of the revolt of 1857 on the Indian society was the emergence of a feeling of nationalism among the Indians. The onset of direct rule by the British Crown, struggle by the native Indians against an incoming alien force, different rulers and princesses struggling together, etc., were some of the newest things which the Indian subcontinent had never seen before. The revolt of 1857 was the first time when Indian natives across the vastness of its territories struggled together against a common foreign enemy, thereby providing a feeling of commonness to the people. Additionally, the reinforcement of the British rule led to the introduction of modern Western education within the subcontinent, which gave rise to a class of enlightened middle class Indians who became aware of the virtuous Western ideologies of democracy, liberty, equality, and fraternity. All these factors and changes culminated in the traditional structure of the Indian society to break down, giving way for socio-economic conditions which eventually led to the growth of the nationalism among the greater masses of India. So, that's all for the Sepoy Mutiny, as we explored one of the cruelest events of Indian history that, though failed, paved a base for the upcoming struggles. I shall now come with a fresh set of golden pages from the history next time we meet. Till then, bye, stay safe, and thank you.